downtown Lake Jackson, crossing Oyster Creek Drive, and we're headed for lunch at the local. And here we are at the corner of That Way and Circle Way, and we're at the local kitchen, market, and bakery. After we eat lunch at the local, we'll likely come by this little corners of Lake Jackson. You know, Alden Dow had to have had a sense of humor to name streets this way and that way. Kind of makes it hard to give directions sometimes, I guess. Anyway, we may stop and take a picture here. Okay, it looks a little bit different coming in this way, but if we come back in this way, we'll take a left on Circle Way, and that'll get us back to heading into the Lake Jackson Historical Museum, which is right up there on the left. And our fourth tour site on the Brazosport bicycle tour is the Lake Jackson Historical Museum, and we've arrived there. Okay, here we are on Parking Way and Parking Place. You know, all these cute street names and the design of downtown Lake Jackson is part of the history and appeal of the city of Lake Jackson. And you can see up there on your right, we're approaching the Alden B. Dow Office Museum, which, like I said, depending on our tour schedule, is an optional site that we can visit. It's a relatively small site. It should only take us 10 or 15 minutes to walk through it at the most. So that'll be a potential optional site for our tour. You know, the cycling and walking, jogging pathway that's set up along Oak Drive and Oyster Creek Drive is really cycle friendly. It's wide enough to accommodate both pedestrians and cyclists. And again, it runs along Oak Drive between 332 and Oyster Creek Drive, and then down the length of Oyster Creek Drive all the way to Dixie. So that's the path that we'll be taking to our final destination, which is the Brazosport College Museum of Natural Science and the Art Museum out there too. We'll take a right on Oyster Creek Drive. You know, the scenery along Oyster Creek Drive is really beautiful. Again, it's got some of the old growth live oaks, pecan trees, and pines. And again, this pathway is really beautiful. It takes a winding route alongside Oyster Creek Drive, and it gives you plenty of room to be able to both cycle, jog, walk, and just see the scenery at your own pace. You know, there's an old saying about bicyclists. It goes something like, you never forget how to ride a bicycle. It really is a great aerobic exercise. It's low impact. It builds the muscles in the legs, hips, buttocks, ankles, calves. It's a great rehab for knee injuries. My orthopedic surgeon told me once that it was the best exercise for the knee. There's something about that simple rotary motion that builds up the muscles around the knee and also helps buff off the cartilage and meniscus of the joint. What better way to spend an evening or a weekend day than riding the trail along Oyster Creek Drive? It's a great path that was set up by the city of Lake Jackson, and it really is a wonderful way to enjoy the outdoors. Okay, as we approach Sycamore on the hike and bike trail going along Oyster Creek Drive, we're going to prepare to cross Oyster Creek Drive to the north side and resume our path to Brazosport College on that side of Oyster Creek Drive. Okay, we're crossing Oyster Creek Drive at Sycamore to get to the hike and bike walkway as it continues on the north side of Oyster Creek Drive. We got a little stop up here to cross Sycamore, and we'll stop here and then proceed along the way to the Brazosport Center for the Arts and Sciences. And this walkway basically continues on down to about, not quite as far as Dixie at this width, and then it narrows down basically at Port Toluca. Here at Port Toluca crossing, the path does narrow down and there's kind of a narrow bridge crossing ahead, but we'll remain on the sidewalk as far as it'll go. You know, as we approach this bridge again here after Port Toluca, this little narrow bridge, I want to give you a little tip on you know, crossing narrow pathways, it's what I call the longer perspective. You want to look beyond a narrow path. Don't be looking side to side at the rails. Look beyond the path, you know, further down, and center up on the sidewalk and keep your view there as opposed to the narrowing down of the pathway, and you'll be okay when you go through little tightened down spots like that narrow bridge. So that's just a tip for navigating these sidewalks and some of the challenges that you face on them. Boy, what a beautiful and glorious day as riding down this little sidewalk adjacent to Oyster Creek Drive on the approach to Old Angleton Road. And further on, our final destination for the Brazosport bicycle tour is the Brazosport Center for the Arts and Sciences, where we'll visit the Natural History Museum there and the Art Gallery. So we'll just enjoy our ride along this little path adjacent to Oyster Creek Drive in approaching Clute, coming out of Lake Jackson. Okay, we're approaching Old Angleton Road. We're on Oyster Creek Drive, and the sidewalk pretty much plays out right there at Old Angleton Road. So what we're going to do is we're going to carefully cross over to the eastbound drive. We'll cross the railroad tracks and get on the shoulder and proceed on to Brazosport College for the Center for the Arts and Sciences here at Brazosport College. You know, this is a really neat place. It's got both a natural history museum and an art gallery. So it's an excellent place for a Brazosport bicycle tour stop. Okay, after we've secured our bikes upon reaching the Brazosport Center for the Arts and Sciences, we'll go inside and we'll end up doing a tour of the art gallery. We'll probably do it second. It's just a small gallery, a one-room gallery, but it's got a lot of nice local artist work in it. And there's usually a special theme or show for each month. And then we'll enter the Museum of Natural Science, which is actually on one of the top 10 Frommer's travel guide list for museums in the state of Texas. Okay, we're out here at the start of the Brazosport College jogging trail, and as it is with all pathways, bicyclists must yield to pedestrians. So we're going to take a loop around this trail and come back out the same way that we went in. And you'll see again, this property is really laid out in a beautiful setting of these old growth oak trees, and it just winds itself around the periphery of the backside of the campus of Brazosport College. You know, one thing you need to be aware of, I'm sure you hear a lot of wind noise on this tape, but that's pretty realistic. That's what you feel when you're cycling. And wind is probably the worst enemy of a cyclist, especially when it's a headwind. So that's just one of the things that you have to deal with when you're doing any sort of bicycling or outdoor activity. You deal with the elements when you're out in it. But that's part of the fun of it. So again, we're just going to continue around the Brazosport College jogging trail, and we'll come back out on Oyster Creek Drive, or College Drive as it's called, when we get done. Okay, we're still on the Brazosport College jogging trail, but we're actually over on the western side of the campus along Oyster Creek. And I guess the sprinklers just went off for all the shrubbery they have planted there, but this is a really nice part of this path. And you can see these huge pecan trees that are lining the pathway, and again you can get views of Oyster Creek as you're riding along here. So this will end up coming back out on College Drive, and we'll take it back, which it turns into Oyster Creek Drive, and we'll take that back to a path to the Sea Center where we began our tour. Okay, we're coming out of Brazosport College, and again we're approaching College Drive, and we'll take a right here and head back up over the railroad tracks where it turns back into Oyster Creek Drive.